accept the fact that the city is headed for a disaster, biblical proportion. Rain is Old Testament, real wrath of God type stuff. Fire and brimstone coming down from the skies. Rivers and seas boiling. We use this earthquakes, volcanoes. They have rise from the debris. Human sacrifice, dogs and kids living together. That's a carrier. Listen, I know this has happened the last 2 weeks. Here it is I've been sitting here trying to get everything started right around noon, but we just keep going on. Like me and Dave, we just keep talking. We keep talking about all kinds of stuff. Today we've been talking about G.I. Joe. Been talking about G.I. Joe because it is Yo Joe June. That's what Hasbro calls it. They call it Yo Joe June. But, years ago, I used to go to JoeFest, went every single year, meeting people like Sergeant Slaughter, Samantha Newark, who is Jim from Jim and the Holograms, Larry Hama. We were talking about him last hour. But did you miss it? Did you miss it? Because it is radio only. That first hour, Saturday morning radio, is radio only. So if you're not listening to it, well, shame on you. You missed out. Now, if you're here locally, it's very easy to find. WDCE 90.1 FM on the radio dial. But you might say, hey, Sam, I'm not close by. How do I listen to it? Well, it's very, very simple. You download the Live 365 app. Download the Live 365 app, search WDCE, and you'll be able to listen to the show that first hour, which is radio only, whatever what you're doing in the morning. You could be making breakfast. You could be taking kids to sporting events. It is the summer. And of course, I don't expect everybody to sit down in front of a screen and just watch us this whole time. You have stuff to do. But nothing's better than making eggs and breakfast, pouring a bowl of cereal, than listening, of course, to my beautiful puppet voice. But here we are. It is 12/19 here on the 27th day of June in the year 2026. And of course, I do have the Sam Cams live up and running. So you can see my beautiful puppet face as well as my hearing my beautiful puppet voice. At Sam Newsman all over social media is where you're going to find us. At Sam Newsman all over social media. We're broadcasting live currently on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Kick. So that is Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Kick. And so, it's interesting. As we were talking about G.I. Joe, I was sitting there thinking about my first interview that I ever had with Sergeant Slaughter. And this was years ago. This was during GalaxyCon. Familiar with GalaxyCon? Yeah, GalaxyCon. Yeah, so GalaxyCon is a convention that comes here to Richmond. And it comes every year around March. But years ago, the very first GalaxyCon, I want to say, was it 2018? So 2019. 2019, I think, is when it was. 2019, GalaxyCon. It was the very first GalaxyCon. And here I am chatting with Sergeant Slaughter. And I said, hey, Sarge, you know what? Hey, listen, I have a question for you. Because, listen, I have inside information and intel. Well, I do. Being the most trusted puppet in media and all of that. So I did. I said, Sarge, here's the deal. I said, hey, listen, we know that Destro was supplying weapons to the Joes. However, all of those episodes are classified. So my question to you, Sarge, are we ever going to see those episodes? Well, because we have Destro. Destro is the weapons dealer. Right? He's the weapons dealer for Cobra. But let's not kid ourselves. Weapons dealers, they're on both sides. They do both sides of the whole thing. So they're supplying weapons to the good guys and the bad guys. And then so I had to sit there and say, I said, Sarge, you got to let me know. Are they ever going to declassify those episodes with Destro selling weapons to the Joes? And of course, Sarge looks at me, in that gruffy voice, behind those aviator sunglasses and that hat that we're all familiar with. And he says, Sam, we're never going to see those. I don't think you're ever going to see those. And it was right then that I knew right there that my intel was correct, that Destro was supplying the Joes with weapons. And so those are the facts. So this is not something that is saying, hey, well, you know what, this is terrible. And this is just a conspiracy or any of that stuff. No. This is bona fide journalism at the highest level, award-winning journalism. Listen, I've been doing this since Roswell. Speaking of which, broadcasting live, of course, since Roswell. And so here we are, here now, and I'm sitting there talking to Sergeant Slaughter, getting everything and all of that information from him. And so now we know that, hey, listen, the Joes were being supplied weapons from Destro. Not only was it Cobra, it was also the Joes. And that's why I always say that Destro, who's been on our show, by the way, Arthur Burkhart, familiar with Arthur Burkhart? Arthur has been on the show before. But Destro, let's just call it, let's be real about it. Destro called into the show, and it was him as Destro. So let's not kid ourselves. It was Destro himself calling in to the show here several years ago on a Saturday morning. What better way to start a Saturday morning than listening to me, and then all of a sudden Destro calls in, right? So Destro, of course, my favorite character in G.I. Joe, supplying weapons to both Cobra and the Joes. And we were able to sit there, get him on. And so, but Arthur's a sweetheart too. He's an amazing, the first time I interviewed him, oh man, talk about somebody that wanted to rip the stuffing out of me. He wanted to rip the felt right off my face. Because I sat there and you know what I said to him? I said, oh, listen, so you're a voice actor. And he just looked at me and he said, what did you call me? And I said, the voice of Destro. And he lit into me. Oh my gosh, he lit into me like a firecracker. Because here he is he's a Shakespearean trained actor, a classically trained actor. And of course, all I ever knew him from was G.I. Joe. And he also was the voice of Devastator. He was the voice of Spydrax and Sectars. So, I knew those. But listen, I never saw him play Hamlet, in Hamlet. I never saw him in Romeo and Juliet. I had no clue. Macbeth, I had no clue. But he lit into me. But we became very good friends. And he became a friend of this program. So, but those are some of the great stories from JoeFest. Samantha Newark, as Dave was telling us last hour, is having a birthday. So happy birthday to Samantha Newark. She is Jim. Jim. The actual, Jim in the holograms. Well, Samantha is Jim herself. She got that role very early on. Very, very early on. And so it's, and I had a great time, great times at JoeFest. Probably one of my other favorite interviews is Bobby Valla. Bobby Valla, this is before Action Force had released. He was still waiting on that first series of Action Force to be released. But he had this Action Force championship belt. And I tell you, it was incredible because I sat there and I was like, hey, listen, I need you to throw that belt over your shoulder and we need to go back and forth. And we did. It was one of the best interviews that I've had. With Bobby Valla. So tip of the cap to Bobby Valla. He and Laser Pants, Ryan, they have a show on Saturday night, the 3POA podcast. Bobby's not going to be there tonight. Who's going to be there tonight is my old buddy, Jersey Maniac. Yeah, Jersey Maniac, who, he wanted to try to sell me something at an increased cost and then try to justify it. I'd only expect that from someone who lived in Jersey, to sit there and say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to sell it to you for what I paid for it. I'm going to sell it to you for 3 times as much. And I was like, yeah, spoken like a true person from New Jersey. So no, kick rocks. But love Jersey Maniac. He is incredible. And, his rants, some of the best action figure toy rants in the toy space. So love Jersey Maniac. He's going to be with Laser Pants tonight on the 3POA podcast. That's at 8 o'clock this evening. They're going to be talking about Star Wars figures, giving the grades of all the current Black Series Star Wars figures that have come out so far this year. You can find me, of course, on the 3POA podcast on Wednesdays. That is the 3POA Midweek Mayhem. Yeah, the Midweek Mayhem. Now, I'm not there every single week, because, listen, I have a lot of news that is happening during the week that I got to cover and I'm doing and everything like that. So I'm not there every single Wednesday, but for the most part, so I'll be there this Wednesday, God willing, that I'll be there this Wednesday. So we'll be talking about action figures and toys and all that good stuff. That's at 9:00 on Wednesdays. So you'll see me there with the boys chatting. Of course, there's people in the chat. There's people in the chat that love me, and there's people in the chat that hate me. And not that it bothers me either way. I could care less if you hate me, because the haterade is very, very strong. I'm sipping those haterade tears that you guys are throwing at me in a shot glass. That's right. I'm tipping them back one after the other, because let's face it, jealousy is a real thing. Here I am, an award-winning media puppet, and all you're doing is just sitting there watching an award-winning media puppet talk about toys with some of his closest friends. So it's absolutely a great time. So 3POA podcast, the 3POA Midweek Mayhem, 9:00 on Wednesday. And people might be asking, they say, Sam, what's going on with your hat? Where's your hat? Well, this is the ramen toy hat. I was chatting with Ace just last night. He's down at JoeFest. They had an exclusive they brought, sold out in just a couple of minutes. So, and they only made about 200 of them. I'm not sure if you can still get them on the website now or not. Might have sold out all there already too. Who knows? But listen, I'm so grateful that Ramen Toys and Ace have been doing such a wonderful job. You know what they did show off? They showed off them old Duke boys. That's right, them old Duke boys. The Dukes of Hazzard figures. A couple of years ago, he did the Ramen Racer, the Tiger Orange one, which was the old General Lee from the show. Yeah, of course I got one. So they're re-releasing the General Lee. And then also they're releasing the figures. So you're going to get Bo and what's the other one? Whatever. Daisy Dukes. So they're doing a Daisy Dukes figure. Yeah, right. So they're doing that. And of course the Knight Rider figure and the car kit. Well, that's going to end in a couple of days. I was never a big Knight Rider person. I thought it was kind of cornballish. And people might get upset. They say, oh, I can't believe that, Sam. Well, listen, you know what? I don't care about a car talking to me. I just don't. I don't. No, it doesn't. Listen, it doesn't strike my fancy. I tell you what, I wouldn't mind having the David Hasselhoff figure. But as far as the car goes, blah. But here, one of the things, though, that is great about Ramen Toy and what Ace did is Ace gave me my first Silverhawks figures in about 35 years. Did that several years ago. He released a Quicksilver and a Monstar. First time Silverhawks figures had been done in years, like 30 plus years. And then what did he also do? He gave me my first Brave Star figure, aka the Marshall. First time that happened in about 35 years as well. We still don't have a licensed Brave Star figure. Now Mondo does have the license, so eventually they will be making some Brave Star figures, but not just yet. And it's been a long time. So these are third-party figures. The 3030 was just released, the Techno Horse, which looks amazing. And he also showed off the Outlaw, which is Tex Hex. So excited about that. Tip of the cap, literally tip of this cap to Ramen Toys. You know what Ramen stands for, right? Retro, artistic, modern, 80s nostalgia. It's right there on the cap. Retro, artistic, modern, 80s nostalgia. So I love the fact that Ace is a genius. Ace is a genius. My favorite toy company by far, modern toy company, Ramen Toys. So excited. They just keep getting better and better and better and doing amazing stuff. They have the Makina line, which is basically like Mask. And what is it? What else did they get? They got what was the one? Well, it slips my mind right now. Oh, you know what? It's going to come to me later. And he got the license for that too. Anyways, Ace is just doing all kinds of fun stuff. And just check him out, ramentoys.com, ramentoy.com. Ramentoy.com is where you're going to find that. And so I just love everything they do. And I'm just looking forward to more stuff from Ace in the future. Now, hey, you know what's interesting here is that, normally I talk about the news. I've not done a reel in a while. And the reason why is because the news is just so depressing. I mean, and the news is just depressing. I mean, I don't want to sit there and get on here and talk about the news when you can go and just watch and read the news yourself. No, 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 no. Listen, we're going to do something different around here. Now, I haven't done it in the last couple of weeks because I hadn't had anything come across my desk. However, Superman has Lois Lane. Superman has Lois Lane. You know who I have? I have Lois Young. That's right. I have Lois Young. Superman has Lois Lane, and I have Lois Young. Well, because being a superhero myself, you have to have some reporter that gives you all the information. So Lois Young, sending me, of course, the good news report. And this is interesting because I got it. I got it as a paper airplane. And I had to sit there and open up this paper airplane, which I don't really want to do because when I got the paper airplane, I threw it and it went down the hallway. Went about 15, 20 feet. Talk about an amazing job of how the good news is delivered. The good news report, it's not all terrible because it's not all terrible. It's not all terrible. There are so much negativity stories happening within the news and all this other stuff. So it's kind of crazy. But I had to sit there and try to, let's see here. Can we get this? I don't want to mess up the. Oh gosh, I don't want to mess this up because I want to put it back into a paper airplane when it's all done. Okay, all right, here we go. So here we are. We do have the good news report. The good news report and some bad jokes. We'll get some bad jokes here at the very end. But the good news report. It's not all terrible. Let's see what we have. So. Here we have Italy bans wild animals from circuses, giving them a chance to live in sanctuaries. How about that? Everybody's always wondering. They're like, hey, you know what? This is, animal cruelty and all that. So these animals in Italy, wild animals are no longer going to be in circuses. They're going to be living in sanctuaries. Deforestation in the Brazilian Amazon falls to its lowest levels since 2019. Well, about time. About time. Listen, there's no reason why they should be doing that. So good for them. The Brazilian Amazon rainforest, the deforestation at its lowest level since 2019. That's great. Aldi, you familiar with Aldi? Aldi, the store. Yeah, right. The best deal in all of grocery. You can sit there. You can buy a shopping cart for 25 cents. You can. No, seriously. You can go into and you can buy a shopping cart for 25 cents. That's the best deal. That's the best deal around. How much do you think, if you were to sit there and try to go buy a shopping cart anywhere else, you think it'd be 25 cents? I don't think it'd be 25 cents. Anyways, Aldi is removing 44 artificial ingredients from its products by the end of 2027. So they're just going to keep poisoning you throughout the rest of this year and then all of next year. But then after that, after all the poison is settled in, everyone who goes there will then finally be able to eat food that doesn't have artificial ingredients. So, but no, listen, I would say I'm kidding. No, I'm not kidding. But at least they're trying something. Listen, well, you know what's going to happen is that they're going to forget by the time the end of 2027, and they're going to say, "Oh, well, we forgot. Oh, man, so we still have those artificial." But no, so hopefully not. Basically, you should always read the labels for your food. I don't understand why people don't get that. You have these labels on your food, and then all of a sudden it says down at the bottom contains a bioengineered ingredient, and you're still going to sit there and eat it. Like, what the heck does that mean? Bioengineered ingredient. I'm not too sure about that one. All right, let's see here. Dutch engineers build the world's largest ocean vacuum to help collect plastics and aid marine ecosystems. Yeah, you know what? There's like a trash island that is like as big. What is it? As big as a couple of states, right? Floating out in the Pacific. It's just nothing but trash that's been collected up. So the fact that they're actually going about the process of trying to clean up some of that trash, clean up some of that plastic, well, that's good. That's good. Speaking of the sea, the green sea turtle conservation efforts have led to the removal of its endangered species classification. The green sea turtle is no longer endangered. Well, because you got people like the Dutch engineers trying to clean up the ocean. Now, if you're sitting there and throwing stuff into the ocean, shame on you. Did you watch The Boys? Did you see what happened to that one guy? He threw something into the water, and then all of a sudden the shark was like, "Don't you ever get back in the water again." And the next time he did, they got him. They got him. Keep the seas clean, people. Good grief. Science confirms our brain cells are influenced by our self-talk, proving that the way we speak to ourselves matters. I say this all the time. You should speak to yourself. I always say that I am an award-winning media puppet. And, you know what? I am. I am. I am an award-winning media puppet, and that's great. I had the plaque right over there over my shoulder just to prove it. So people might sit there and say, "Oh, well, Sam, you're just a puppet on the radio. You're on a little independent." Yeah, okay, right. Yeah, the readers of the Richmond Times-Dispatch voted me the best morning radio show. Now people were asking, "Listen, Sam, are you going to sit there and run again?" Well, we do have the Saturday morning radio show in the morning category. I'm in the afternoon category. Old Uncle Jeff, I think, is still upset with me. But here's the thing. Uncle Jeff's going to win. He's going to win, and because I'm not getting a number for the afternoon. So I don't even know why he's whining about it, because he's going to win. He's going to get his 7 years. And then next year, when he can't run anymore, then that's when I'll get the number, and then I'll get one of these little plaques over my shoulder that says Best Afternoon Radio Show Host. See, listen, there's always a method to the madness, folks. I didn't go from third place to second place to first place because I don't know what I'm doing. Guys, I've been doing this since Roswell, for goodness sake. So anyways, as far as the morning show, they're just charging an arm and a leg for the numbers this year. I don't think I'm going to do it. I don't know. What do I need to prove? Seriously, what do I need to prove? I don't need to prove anything. I already got the hardware over my shoulder. There's not really a better morning show host in Richmond other than the real award-winning media puppet. And once you've lost to a puppet, you really can't come back. So I feel sorry for all the people that are like, "Oh, well, this year I'm going to win." Well, you already lost to a puppet. So you can't come back from that. So you should have beat me the first time, but you didn't. You didn't. Okay, what else do we have going on here? France becomes the first country to force supermarkets to give unsold food to the homeless. I've never understood that. That's what the food that they don't have at restaurants in the evening. If restaurants have extra food in the evening, why are they not giving it to homeless people? Listen, if the supermarkets in France, so typically, we usually joke on France. It's because they're easy to joke on, the French. But the thing is the fact that they're giving homeless people food that's not being bought or sold. So tip of the cap to the people in France. They're forcing the supermarkets to give unsold food to the homeless. That's perfect. That's what should be happening. Good job on that. Good job on them for doing that. Mexico is rolling out universal health care, giving more than 120 million people access to free health care across the country's public health system for 2027. Now, the only reason why that would never work in America is because of greed. So let's just not kid ourselves. Your health is a big profitable business here in America. So I don't ever see that ever changing because, they want to keep you sick. So I can give you pharmaceuticals. I could go on all day and rant about that, but we're talking about good news here, ladies and gentlemen. Good news here. So let's see here. All right, the last one that we got here. Researchers discover that rats will free a trapped companion before taking a treat, choosing empathy over food in repeated experiments. You ever seen a rat trap? So a rat would rather get the other rat free than eat that little piece of cheese. And they want to help their buddies out. So hey, you know what? Be a rat. Just be a rat and help out somebody. Have some empathy, right? Just, rats have more empathy than humans, it seems like. Who would have thought that? So anyways, that's the good news report, that we have right here. And so that's it. So it is 12:40 here on the 27th day of June, the year 2026. Gonna head out of here in just a few moments, but you can't leave without a couple of good jokes. So if you know the answers to these jokes, we are streaming live at Sam Newsman. So if you know the answer to the jokes, you can go ahead and put those down in the comments if you do see them. But let's see here. We got a couple of good jokes. So the first one we have, why did the reporter go to the ice cream parlor? Okay. Why did the reporter go to the ice cream parlor? All right, I'm going to give you a few seconds to think about that. Why did the reporter go to the ice cream parlor? Anybody? Anybody? Because he wanted to get the scoop. He wanted to get the scoop. To get the scoop. Yes, Eddie. Eddie said that. Yes, Eddie says. Yep, Eddie said it. Yeah, I see that. Oh, that's great. Yep. All right. Good job. Good job. Yep. That's right. They wanted to get the scoop. Yep. All right. Oh, that's good. All right. Apparently, to start a zoo, you need at least 2 pandas, a grizzly, and 3 polars. What is that? To start a zoo, you need at least 2 pandas, a grizzly, and 3 polars. What is that called? You know? What is it called? Anybody? Anybody? Last time. Apparently, to start a zoo, you need at least 2 pandas, a grizzly, and 3 polars. The bare minimum. That's right, the bare minimum. Somebody got it. The bare minimum. 305. 305 Mambo said the bare minimum. That's right. The bare minimum is it. Yeah. So okay. All right. The last one. I know these are totally cornball, and I love it. You know, they're dad jokes. They're wonderful dad. This is a great way to end the show. You know, I mean, I could sit there and rant about all kinds of other stuff, but this is a great way to end the show with jokes. So we have one last joke. What do you call a gorilla wearing headphones? What do you call a gorilla wearing headphones? You guys are not going to get this one. You guys are not going to get this one because this is just too classic. This is too classic. You're not going to get this. Okay, last one. Okay, last one. Read it one more time. What do you call a gorilla wearing headphones? Anybody? Anybody? Going once. Going twice. You call it anything you want because it can't hear you. It can't hear you. Why? It's wearing headphones. You call it anything you want. It's not wearing headphones. Nobody got that. Nobody got that one. So listen, the first 2 were pretty good. But you guys were getting some of those down in the chat. But what do you call a gorilla wearing headphones? Anything you want because it can't hear you. It's wearing headphones. So, well, yeah, okay. All right, so what is it? Gosh, it's time to get out of here. It's 12:45 here on the East Coast, here on the 27th day of June in the year 2026. Listen, I'm going to get out of here, but you know what? Sir Philosopher, who does the show before mine from 9 till 11, he sat there and reached out to me. He said, Sam, I miss you singing. Can I get a singing request? Sam needs to sing more. So I was like, okay, well, we stopped singing because we ended the whole sideshow infotainment run. But I've had some other people reach out. They said, Sam, why don't you sing anymore? And I was like, okay. So anyways, follow me online at Sam Newsman all over social media. At Sam Newsman all over social media is where you're going to find me. Some days I might do reels. Some days I might not. It depends on how I'm feeling. And if the news is important enough for me to actually do one. Like I said, you're going to find me this Wednesday on the 3 POA Midweek Mayhem with me and the boys talking about toys. Yes, I am a poet. And I know it. So, but like I said, at Sam Newsman all over social media. Where you're going to find me. At Sam Newsman all over social media is where you're going to find me. Stick around here. Make sure that you are listening to the radio stream at WDCE 90.1 FM, or download the Live 365 app and search WDCE. You'll be able to hear Citizen Germ's Mr. Rogers segment, which is a radio exclusive. The only way you can hear that is going to the Live 365 app, search WDCE, or WDCE.org, WDCE.net. But we're going to play a song here, a little Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy from the Andrews Sisters to close out the show. And like I said, Citizen Germ and his Mr. Rogers segment will be back. Now, I'm looking forward to the next edition of this, the good news report, because it's not all terrible and bad jokes. So tip of the cap to Lois Young, our esteemed reporter, who was able to get us that. If I try to throw it, it's all open. So if I throw it, it probably won't do anything. So if we do, well, oh, there it went. Oh, okay. Well, it didn't go as far as it would be, but anyways. So when we get out of here, like I said, make sure you're listening to the radio feed. You'll be able to hear Citizen Germ in just a few moments. So that Game of Thrones is what they play. A house of cards just day by day. Voters losing every way. It's just like I always say. Oh, it's sideshow infotainment. Politicians and news anchors. And talking points that make my eardrums bleed. The most trusted puppet in media is me. Reporting since Roswell, I'm Sam Newsman.